What is happening? My name is John Denton. Thank you for joining me on another video. Just going to be chatting on this video. DoubleXL just released the new 2020 freshman list, as I'm sure you all know. Going to go through each one of the artists, say what I think about the list overall, and then just give some thoughts about what I'm seeing kind of as DoubleXL as a product, as a publication right now, based on my own experience in publishing magazines. I don't know if you knew that about me. Some of you did, some of you didn't. Guys, please subscribe if you're new. You know how it goes. Let's get straight into it then. So yeah, I mean, real nice cover, feels modern, feels fresh, bright colours, considering how difficult I'm sure it was to put all this together given COVID-19. You know, very impressive, just very striking, modern, like I say, fresh feeling cover. So good work there. And then we're going to go through the artists one by one. First of all, they mentioned that Pop Smoke would have been on this list. He accepted. He was the first to accept, in fact, and obviously everything happened. Rest in peace to Pop Smoke. Awful situation, as we know. And then I think through some situation they weren't able to put him on the cover. They didn't go into detail. So obviously he would have been on there, which would have made total sense, and I think would have been probably most people's first choice for what a freshman is supposed to mean. It's not a word we even use in England, but I know what it means. So yeah, let's just go down the list real quickly, and then I'm going to give my thoughts on the list in total. I'm not going to pretend like I'd heard every single one of these artists, because I think that's kind of the point of the freshman list. There should be probably a bunch of artists that you know, a bunch of artists that maybe you're not sure of. If you heard the name, you go and check them out. That seems to be kind of the point anyway. So that's definitely what happened with me. So kicking things off, NLE Chopper. I was kind of surprised to see him on here just because I feel like he's been around for a minute. I know he's still a young guy, but I think we were reacting to him back on Rock the Axiom 18, so yeah, kind of surprising that he's on this year's list, but I get it. He's just dropped a new record. Not my favourite or anything like that, not my favourite artist, but I think in that kind of like young boy-esque lane, he does a perfectly good job, and he makes sense to be a freshman. It makes less sense that he's done this year's, but then again, you know, if he wasn't on last year's, where can you put him? You can't go back in time. These are the rules of physics.
Marty! You've got to come back with me! Where? Back to the future!
Apology, I think, makes a lot of sense. Dropped the GOAT album this year. Very strong record in that type of lane. It's not going to be my favourite record of the year or anything like that. But somebody who makes sense, somebody who's coming through, who is young, who is exciting, but also definitely has a lot of potential. Not necessarily the hardest spitter out there, but definitely capable of delivering some bars, some music with substance, and I like his sort of choice of piano-driven instrumentals. So yeah, another one that I think makes a lot of sense. I hadn't heard of Cool Boy / Cowboy from Chicago, another one with Polo G, so I went and listened to a couple of his tracks, and to be honest, it sounded very generic for what we're hearing a lot of music right now. Similar to NLE, similar to Polo G, similar to Young Boy, a kind of sort of heartfelt melodic trap. You know, if the writers and people at XXL, at DoubleXL, think that this is a guy that should be on there, then who am I to argue against it? I would have probably gone with some different artists, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But then again, I'm not hugely familiar with the guy's work, but that one felt like a bit of a surprise for me, to be honest. Moving on, Lil Tjay again. I mean, we're talking very similar artists. All four of these artists, very similar so far. So I was thinking everyone's just going to sound the same. And maybe this is the direction we're going in. We're slightly out of the Lil sequence of rappers. I think that was a kind of rough time, to be honest, when Lil Pump's still probably one of the better ones out there, and I'm not talking about Lil Wayne, obviously, and some of the actual artists with that name. There was that whole rough period there where you're getting a lot of artists coming out, or artists in inverted commas, I should say, really not capable of rapping. And I'm not saying the likes of Chopper and Polo G are the most like dense lyrical rappers out there. They're not, but they are kind of a level up from where music was a little while ago, maybe sort of 18 months ago. So again, Lil Tjay, I mean, it makes sense, but at the same time, it's like, okay, is everybody just going to sound exactly the same? But then no, Fivio Foreign, who calling him a freshman is like calling me a middle schooler. Again, not a term that we use in England, but yeah, I mean, a bit old maybe to be on the list, but somebody who's gained a lot of relevance this year, I think, and somebody in me who's, you know, more familiar with the UK drill scene than like the Brooklyn and New York drill scene. Fivio Foreign is somebody that's come to my attention this year just through working with some UK producers and doing stuff with Drake, etc., doing stuff with Pop Smoke. So yeah, it makes sense apart from the fact that he's 30 and he's got kids, but I don't know what the actual rules are on Freshman. If it's just these are the people you should be paying attention to, then fine. Baby Keem is somebody that you guys keep telling me I need to react to. I know he's Kendrick Lamar's cousin, but he doesn't really sound anything like Kendrick Lamar. From what I've heard, he's quite a varied and has some interesting ideas. Unusual that he made it on here, I think, but then again, this is probably the kind of format that makes sense for an artist like that, because he's blowing up, he's getting that sort of fan base, he's getting that really hardcore fan base. Like, I know that they're always on at me, Baby Keem's fans, to react to his music, to do his record, and that makes sense from a commercial and kind of sort of tactical point of view from DoubleXL, and this is something I'm going to go into in a minute. Moving on quickly then, Jack Harlow makes total sense. You know, had a massive tune with What's Poppin', and the remix is a very capable rapper. In the other music of his that I've heard, has great commercial appeal. Sounds a bit different to some of the other artists on here, so yeah, it makes total sense for Jack Harlow to be on there. Broadway was an artist I'd heard of and hadn't heard much of his music, so I went and listened to some of his newer project just before doing this video. I was actually very impressed. Sort of a mix between a great R&B voice and kind of, again, more heartfelt, heavy street bars. Again, not anything super wordplay heavy. I'm not really getting that a lot from where this level of hip hop is. I was going to say that not from where hip hop is right now, but that's actually not true at all. But for where this sort of generation of hip hop is going, I would say that yeah, it's not as bar heavy, it's not as wordplay heavy. I think we know that, but I think some of those elements are coming back in because I think there was only ever so much shelf life for stuff that just has absolutely no substance whatsoever. Okay, Chica. Now this is an interesting one. I had not heard this name whatsoever. I'd never heard of Chica, and then I went and listened to some of her records, and I was really impressed. I mean, we are talking about somebody with bars here, somebody with clever storytelling rap, somebody who can just switch into kind of acoustic singer-songwriter mode as well. I think there's a lot of potential there, and this to me is exactly the type of artist that should be on a cover like this, because it's an artist that not a lot of people know. Certainly I didn't, and this is an opportunity for the writers at DoubleXL, for whatever reason that they've chosen her, to try and showcase an artist that they're into and they kind of fuck with to the world, and I think that should be the power of what this is. Mulatto, I hadn't heard of her, but listened to some of her music, makes total sense. Very Megan Thee Stallion type of vibe. Strange one though that she hadn't really put anything else in 2018. A couple of singles this year, but yeah, more on that in a minute. I don't want to be too cynical about it, but yeah, I can see why she's on there. I don't think she's going to be at the level of a Megan Thee Stallion, but at the same time, you kind of get it if that's the angle you're going for. Lil Keed is somebody who's, I believe, just released a record last week. Again, I'm getting a lot of requests to do his record, listen to a little bit. Very Young Thug inspired artist, clearly a fan base. Again, not my favourite from what I've heard, not necessarily somebody that I'd want to spend a lot of time listening to from what I've heard, which is only a limited amount, but overall, yeah, you can kind of see who's on their, good image, everything like that as well, but one that I'll talk about in a minute. Finishing up is 24K Golden, who won the fan vote this year. An artist that I didn't think I'd heard, and then I listened to his latest song and realised that I had heard it just the other day, a track with Ian Dior. It was basically like a pop song. And I can see why he has a young fan base. I can see why, if he riled up his fan base to go and vote for him, that his fan base is heavy. Probably a lot of girls in there as well. Hey, that's how you win a fan vote. You get your fans to vote for you. So no issue there. Overall then, my thoughts on the list itself, I don't actually think it's that bad. I really don't. Is it my personal like top 10 upcoming rappers? No, but listen, there are other factors in play here. But I think we're in a situation where, compared to a couple of years ago, looking at those ciphers, the one with like Ugly God or perhaps the year before, and last year's where you got Blueface and people like that, like ultimately you want some substance, you want some quality, and I think a lot of these artists, when it comes down to these ciphers, will be able to deliver something. I don't think we're ever going to be in a situation where we're going back to like 2011 and you got a cypher with like Kendrick Lamar and Yellow Wolf and Cider Prince in the same cypher. Like those times, unfortunately, don't seem to be where we're at right now. But considering what this like DoubleXL seems to be going for at the moment, I don't think it's a bad list, and I don't think the ciphers are going to be awful, and I'm interested to see how some of the interplay works. Now, having said that, I think DoubleXL is in a weird position at the moment, because it feels like a brand and a publication and a product that is losing sight of what its own audience is. And what I mean by that, it's been around forever, it's very established, it has deep connections within the industry, and you know, all print media is basically gone like this, but it's still hanging in there, trying its best, and it's moving more into social media, pivoting a bit to video, as people say, and obviously the online presence, the website as well, which is a mess. I'm not gonna lie, their website's a mess, but most websites are these days because the big social platforms have just destroyed them. So we're in a weird situation where I don't think that anybody who really cares about what XXL stands for, you know, somebody who perhaps read the magazine 10, 15 years ago, even longer than that, is necessarily connecting with a lot of these artists. And a lot of these artists have a very young fan base, and a lot of that fan base, I don't think is clicking on XXL articles. I don't think they're certainly buying a magazine. I mean, I'm sure there's people who've never bought a magazine outside of like a kid's comic that are young fans, 16, 17-year-olds. And you're left in this weird situation where the magazine and the brand is starting to, for me, to come off as quite inauthentic. Their voice on social media changed in the last year or so, and talking about a lot more fresh, upcoming artists, speaking in a different tone that may be appealing to a younger demographic, and it comes across to me as a bit inauthentic. And because of that, I feel like you're in a strange situation, because I don't believe these like veteran writers for this magazine, veteran editors, are necessarily enjoying a lot of these artists. When there's artists like, I don't know, Kemba, Marlon Craft, like people who can really spit out there that they could potentially be highlighting. And you're also in a situation where I question, rightly or wrongly, I may be wrong on this one, I may be off point, I question their relationship with the labels and exactly how this is working from a promotional point of view. And the reason I bring that up is there's been some suspicious entries on these lists for a while. You're like, well, what are they doing on there? And suddenly they've got a new album coming out and all this sort of stuff. Fine, listen, the world works the way it works. But my real suspicions came when I was following XXL on Twitter a little while ago, a long time ago, and they have this thing called The Break, and it's supposedly like, okay, we're going to break a new artist, we're going to talk about a new artist. And the artist they broke was this guy, Icy Narco, and I went and actually did a reaction back on Rock Reacts to one of his songs, and it's dreadful, man. And the guy's disappeared, and like nothing on the kid. He's just trying, he's trying out there, but like we're talking sub Little Pump nonsense, and I'm thinking there's no way that people who really consider themselves like hip-hop fans would ever put their brand on the line as The Break. This is the artist we think you should be paying attention to right now, this guy. And I feel bad about the kid. This isn't about the kid, this is more about the sort of integrity of the publication. And again, I've got no proof, I'm just talking, I'm spitballing. But for me, in a situation like that, I think, okay, let me clarify your thoughts. A situation like that for a magazine that has a lot of pressures, a lot of things coming on, a lot of commercial things, the ad sales team, everything like that. Here is your chance to say, no, this is who you should be paying to. For your hardcore fans, for that core fan base that's going to buy the publication, be an evangelist for the brand, this is your chance to say, like, this is who we should be paying attention to. That's your chance to be core. And when you sell out on that, and I do believe that's probably what's happened to labels, you're in real trouble as far as I'm concerned. My experience of working in print magazines is like your fan base will understand that something commercial has to go on the front cover. It has to be something big. It has to be something that your fan base might not necessarily be interested in. But the nature of a magazine, the beauty of a magazine, the shame we don't really have that anymore, is that you can pick it up and then within the pages of the magazine, it's like a captive audience. So yes, you've got your giant thing. I worked in video games, so yeah, you had your Call of Duty there, but then you could get some indie games in there. You could get some Fez and Braid and all that sort of stuff in there. I'm going back a little bit now. That was when I used to work on the magazines. And that's the same case. But when those pages where you're really after that kind of editorial voice, they're being sold out, you're in big trouble. So you need to be in a situation where the best thing, like XXL Freshman, is a massive deal still, because it does the thing where it's appeasing the fans. It's like in media you need three things, and there needs to be a combination of them, right? The ultimate thing is to get three things. You're appeasing the fans, you're appeasing sort of the business from a commercial point of view to sell your product, and also you're you're appealing to the partners you're working with. And when you're working in music or other media or something like that, you're obviously going to be working with a lot of partners. XXL Freshman should be all three, ideally. It should be something that the fans love, it should be something that it does well for the magazine, and it should be something that does well for the partners and the artists involved. You can be in a situation where you can do stuff that your fans absolutely love and the artists absolutely love, and then that's a core thing, like what The Break should be. And you can be in a great situation as well where you do stuff that's commercial and the fans really like it. But the danger is if you're doing stuff that is good for your business and is doing stuff that's good for your partners, but doesn't work for your fan, then you're in big trouble. And I worry that that is the direction DoubleXL is going in, because like I say, I don't believe that these veteran writers and these veteran hip-hop heads truly believe in a lot of these artists. I think that inauthenticity is coming through, despite me not thinking this is a bad list. And hey, I might be wrong, but there's only so long that inauthenticity will stand up. That's my thoughts on the matter, guys. Let me know your thoughts on the list below. I will probably react to the group ciphers, probably not the individual ciphers. Maybe we'll do them on stream. Make sure you're following me on Twitch, twitch.tv/John Denton for weekly reaction streams and some gaming stuff as well. Come follow me on social media, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Yeah, let me know your thoughts on the list and all that I've been talking about down below, and I'll catch you on this one. It is too hot in here, as always. It's ridiculous.